Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. Happy Saturday, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a brand new release from a fairly newish band that I love a lot. They debuted back in 2017 with their excellent Psychotic Symphony release, which was my favorite album of that particular year. So they're back here again a couple years later with their follow-up called 2020. Of course, I'm talking about Sons of Apollo. Basically, a supergroup featuring Mike Portnoy on drums, ex of Dream Theater, also of the Neil Morris Band, Transatlantic, Winery Dogs. The guy plays with everybody, okay? Am I missing anybody? Mike is fairly busy. Derek Sherinian on keyboards, also ex of Dream Theater, also plays with Black Country Communion, and he's played with Yngwie Malmsteen and Kiss and Billy Idol, so on and so forth. Derek's also been very, very busy. We got Billy Sheehan on bass, all right? Billy, formerly of Talus, okay, David Lee Roth's band, also in Winery Dogs and Mr. Big, countless other things. Okay, we got Ron Bumblefoot Thall on guitar. Okay, previously, kind of like one of those shrapnel guys, a guitar shredder. Also played in Guns N' Roses. All right, he's done a lot of other things. And on vocals, we got Scott Soto. Okay, Jeff, of course, has Trans-Siberian Orchestra. All right, started off in Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force. He's played with Neil Schon, a lot of melodic rock stuff, Axel Rudy Pell, so on and so forth. All sorts of great bands. So a true supergroup, and this is their latest, like I said, MMXX or 2020. So basically, they're on Inside Out Records, division of Sony Music. The digipack that I have is a double disc set. So basically you have the album proper, okay, the 2020 album, and then you have a bonus disc which has all of the songs, the instrumental versions, the instrumental mixes without the vocals, okay, as well as some a cappella excerpts, which obviously basically just with vocals. So for those of you who like to listen to the actual songs with and without vocals, or just with vocals, or no vocals at all. I don't know. Inside Out, for whatever reason, has been doing that a lot in recent years. I think they started doing that quite a bit with some Dream Theater releases, and it's just kind of, or Dream Theater started doing that, and it's just taken on a life of its own. So now I see so many of these kind of prog-metal-y releases coming out with bonus discs of all the instrumental mixes, which I guess for some is pretty cool. Personally, I prefer to listen to them with vocals because that's usually the first way you listen to them, and then hearing them without, it's kind of like especially a band like this who, quite frankly, come up with a lot of really catchy hooks and vocal hooks within their songs. That's what kind of makes it really special. But anyway, back to the album. So we've got a bunch of tracks. What do we got here? 9, I think, total. 8 total. Some really, really strong songs. I probably listened to this now, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 times at least, maybe 1 or 2 more. So, my first couple of impressions, and it's changing a little bit as I'm going through and re-listening. My first couple of impressions was that the first album was a little more hooky, had a little more on the, in the way of memorable melodies and choruses, whereas I felt this album was a little heavier and slightly more kind of like, I don't even know if I want to say more progressive, but definitely more like kind of rampaging instrumental jams and passages. The more I'm listening to it, the more all those hooks are starting to come in. I think the first album was more immediate, that the catchiness of the songs kind of jumped out at you from first listen. Not so much on this one, but the songs are now starting to really reveal themselves to me. But from a musical perspective, really challenging stuff and really rewarding stuff. Like I listened to it again this morning, getting ready to do this, and I was like, holy crap, there's some songs on here that are just mind-blowing from an instrumental perspective. And again, some folks might, because we have our share of people out there who are like, oh, I don't like that kind of Dream Theater type stuff with all the widdly wankery and, it's too much of that, and I don't like all that kind of stuff. So, it depends on what you're in for and what you like. I would say these guys, for Mike Portnoy, certainly, this is all, Sons of Apollo is almost his now new version of what he had in Dream Theater. And you really hear that on this album. So it starts off with Goodbye Divinity, which I think was the first song they released before the album came out. And that's a really good, catchy, heavy prog metal piece. All right. And, all the respective skills of the players kind of coming out in full force. Withered to Black comes next. And most of these songs are a little on the shorter side, 4, 5, 6 minutes. There are a couple of epics on here, but they kind of keep things a little bit more in check. Withered to Black is really heavy. It's got like a cool down tune riff, and I think Ron Thall does a lot of really cool riffs and solos on here. A very, very good guitar player who I think probably been very underrated for a long period of time, and probably never really got his chance to break out in Guns N' Roses because they weren't recording anything. He was just basically touring with them, and I think with this band, he's really going to get the respect that he deserves. He's also a really good singer, as I saw when he played with Asia last summer. What comes next? So we got a Fixation, or Asphyxiation, I should say. Another really heavy track. Okay, a lot of really cool passages and riffs. Desolate July. This reminds me a lot of Dream Theater, like the real moody kind of Dream Theater stuff. Okay, in my more recent years. And I think Scott Soto puts in a great vocal performance on that. And you can hear Portnoy's influence all over this tune, from the kind of the melody and all that kind of stuff. Really, really good song. King of Delusion, another angry, snarling prog metal track. Dig it a lot. Probably my favorite song on the album, and it wasn't when I first started listening to it, but it has been lately, is Fall to Ascend. And again, it's not a long track. It's just barely over 5 minutes. But man, is it hit hard. It's got a mammoth riff in the song. And the middle section where they're all just like going berserk. You got Sherinian's blazing synths and crazy leads from Thall, and Portnoy's thundering underneath. And, Sheehan's doing his thing. And you got a really, really aggressive vocal from Soto on this tune. I'm telling you, if you haven't heard this album yet, go here on YouTube and just search for Sons of Apollo Fall to Ascend. Check that out. Amazing song. I think probably for me, Goodbye Divinity and that are probably my two favorites. But I like the whole album. I like a lot. Resurrection Day follows, another, not even 6 minutes long, another really good, just kind of complex but meaty metal rocker. Okay, and then you've got, of course, the big epic, almost 16 minutes in length to finish out the album, A New World Today, which has some, really, really sick playing, some incredible bass solos from Mr. Sheehan, who I just love, man. I just love that kind of leathery, fleeting kind of style that he has. He does these fast runs, and he always has that sound, that tone, which I really dig a lot. So I like the album quite a bit. Let me give you a little tour of the booklet here. So here we go. You got all the lyrics, obviously, to all the songs. I know there's pictures of the guys in here somewhere. We will get to them. There's Mr. Portnoy, the MVP of Prague. There's Mr. Sherinian. There's Mr. Thall. There's Mr. Soto. Last but not least, Mr. Sheehan right there. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. It tends to happen every year. There's usually like a really great CD that comes out right in the beginning of the year in January, and you're like, and you say, oh my God, this is going to be one of the favorites of the year. And then you stop to think, it's like, well, I can only hope that like by the end of the year, I still remember how much I loved that in the beginning of the year. I think this is going to continue through the year and be among my favorites at the end of the year. We'll see. I'm really loving it so far. Here we are. It's February 1st. Can you believe January is over and done with already? Crazy, crazy. But if you haven't heard it, go check it out. Like I said, I think this one is not quite as immediate as the other one. So for those of you, I've seen some comments out there on the internet and on Facebook of people saying, yeah, I listened to it. It didn't really grab me as much as the first album. And I know a lot of people these days, none of us really, and I'm talking about none of us, all right, really have the attention span like we used to years ago. So a lot of times we'll give something a listen or two and just be like, whatever. But I think in certain cases you really have to give some albums more of a chance because, sometimes the songwriting, the arrangements are not meant to just immediately click with you, and you have to keep letting it kind of infiltrate its way into your brain, okay, into your ear canal and whatnot, and before you really start to understand and explore all the little intricacies and the nuances that the band has kind of woven into their songs, and they finally start to reveal themselves to you. That's what I found with this one. Again, I really liked it when I first heard it. I really liked it, but I was like, man, I wish it was as catchy as the first one, as the debut. The more I listen to it now, the more I realize, yeah, you know what? A lot of those hooks are here. But, you know, from a musical perspective, it's absolutely mind-blowing. So hope you guys check it out. I love it. I can tell you right now, it's going to be one of my favorites of the year, without a doubt. I just know it. And I'm actually going to see them live a week from today in New Jersey, in, Bergen Performing Arts Center. Is that what the name of the place is? I don't know. Down in Jersey. I'm going to the New Jersey show a week from today. So if any of you folks are going to be attending that show, it's not a huge place. I'm sure you'll be able to find me. I will be there in attendance along with my brother. So you can meet the family and say hello. So I believe it's a Bergen Performing Arts Center. I think that's the name of the place in Englewood, New Jersey. So anyway, I will be on hand checking the guys out, and I'm looking forward to it. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course. We're here on YouTube all the damn time. We got more stuff coming up, so stay tuned. A lot of stuff happening this weekend. Don't want to miss any of it. So we'll see you guys real soon. Bye-bye.